Good evening, YouTube. This is MTP Flyers, and you see three iPhones here in front of you. And to my left, maybe your right, is the iPhone 4. This is the iPhone 4S, and this is my old iPhone. Now, you guys remember I got a white iPhone 4S, and my wife has a black Verizon iPhone 4. Mine's the AT&T. So I just wanted to show you guys that you're actually closer in likeness to the iPhone 4 in more ways than just what you think, as far as the antenna being moved and the slot being for your sleep-awake being moved down ever so slightly on the new models. This, in fact, is my iPhone 4S, and this is my wife's Verizon phone. Now, I just wanted to show you guys that you can switch the backs on the Verizon phone only, because they are more similar in how they are made in the backs, or exactly the same, I should say. I do feel like it is a little tighter to try to get the back on when you do switch them up, but they do go on, they do screw on just fine, but the plates are cut exactly the same along the backs to slide in. However, on the Verizon iPhone, not only does it look completely different on the inside, the plates are actually lined up at separate points on the back. On the iPhone 4S and the Verizon version of the iPhone, they have different marks where they are put into the back of the phone, and that, of course, is strictly because of the design that they have changed with the antenna changing, and there are many more things that they did change in there. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of it, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys a little bit of exactly how similar the Verizon iPhone is to this is the iPhone 4, to the Verizon 4S, or the AT&T 4S, or in most cases, Verizon, AT&T, and now Sprint. So, right off the bat, one of the biggest things I noticed when they originally came out with the Verizon iPhone, and I'm going to switch the back plates here so I don't confuse myself, so I know what I'm looking at. The Verizon iPhone 4, when that came out originally, the biggest difference I saw was the motor in the AT&T phone is up here in the top right corner. On the Verizon, they moved it all the way down here to the bottom. And for antenna reasons, obviously, that changed it up for some reason, why that's being there, how it changes the dynamics of the setup of the case. And for the most part, everything else is pretty much identical. They've got the motherboard that sits along here, the camera, everything. You can't really move that. All the way down to the speakers, the antenna, and everything. They just do tend to hook it up a little bit differently on the Verizon version. So, at first glance, you can see that they went with a complete redesign. Now, taking this apart, I've taken this apart just fine. This is a bear. They actually have more double-tap screws in here, than 3 to 4 times more than in here. This particular screw up here, there's a screw underneath of it. On the Verizon, it happens several times. Putting the vibrate motor back into the AT&T version of the iPhone 4, much easier. Down here, it pretty much just sits loose. You actually have to line up your logic board to fit around that, and it's pretty tricky. Putting all the screws back in where they are is very difficult. Not only that, there are cables and ribbons underneath here that run to the bottom of the logic board that need to go underneath and over top, underneath the shield here. So there's a lot more involved in taking apart the Verizon version as opposed to taking apart the AT&T iPhone 4. Now, just to show you guys how similar they went with the new iPhone 4S, on all the models across the board, of course, they moved the antenna down here, and they've made it basically a dual-band antenna, so that you got from one side to the other, depending on how strong your signal strength is on one side or the other. It's supposed to result in less drop calls, but honestly, I haven't really seen a difference in that. But I'll get into more of that in my full review. and I did it like a cheesy unboxing. I'll show that to you guys later on in the next video. But in the new Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint phones, they went more with the old version of the iPhone 4. They took the antenna from the top to the side, of course, and then along with that, the vibrate motor does get put down to the bottom, and they use the exact same vibrate motor that they had in the iPhone 4 Verizon version. And for the most part, they've moved the shield down a little bit with the A5 chip, which is underneath here, and some more, spacing depending on how they laid it out. But everything else, for the most part, is identical to what it was in the iPhone 4. Of course, we know we do have a new camera, which does look a little different. Some people have asked me if you hear a rattling when you tap on the new iPhone 4S, and I'm just going to do this right now in front of the microphone. If you can hear what sounds like a loose screw, and that's not me. I've taken this apart and I've grabbed on to certain portions of it. This back plate here, there's a plate over here, and even the camera I've tapped on, and it seems like it may be a combination of all of these actually making a noise. Now, on my wife's Verizon phone, it kind of does the same thing. And I'm thinking it has to do with a design up here. I know this plate slides a little bit up here as it does here. Everything is tight. I took the screws, took them out underneath, tightened everything down. It was pretty much tight. So there's something going on. And again, you're not going to sit there and tap your phone. It's only when maybe if you shake it or you tap it. And I said to the people who asked me, like, why are you tapping your phone? Don't worry about it. If it's not going to shake when you're using it, then it's not really that big of a deal. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's just something that was brought to me. I figured I'd answer that question as we're talking about it. But for those who like to change up their phones, there are some websites that do have backplates for the Verizon iPhone 4 that will work on the 4S, but not the AT&T version of the iPhone 4, just the Verizon, because of the changes they made to the antenna, which in turn led to changes in the backplate. So, like I said, putting on the backplate for the phone that it belongs to is extremely simple. Taking it off, extremely simple. Putting on the Verizon iPhone 4 to the 4S, it just seems like it's not as easy. It's a little bit of a push to get it down, and I don't think it lines up till you put the screws in. So just take caution when you're doing that. And you see it's not as forgiving to take that off. So I don't know if it's just a hair thicker around the connections. You see how I have to just kind of finagle it to get that off of there, and vice versa with putting it on the iPhone 4. It just seems a little tight to me, and I don't know if it is ever so slightly just a hair thicker on these connections down at the bottom underneath. I don't know, but it works. So if you're someone that likes to change that up, this does not void your warranty taking these back plates off if you don't mess with anything inside, remove your stickers or anything like that. The one thing I did notice on here is they do not have the water sensor on the back there anymore. I think this might be a water sensor over here. I haven't taken a whole lot of time to look at stuff like that, but that's pretty much it, guys. I wanted to show you the differences between the past version of the iPhone. Then they updated it for the Verizon, and they changed it a little bit, and it seemed to have gone with the same design as far as where certain things are laid out in the phone from the Verizon to the newest version of the 4S. So you do have options to do that. I'm sure more plates will come out now that the 4S is the overall general design, and I'm sure we'll see screens and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think I'll take this one apart as I took the iPhone 4 apart, because there's a lot more involved, and just as far as taking out the ribbons and everything, it just doesn't line up as properly, and kind of freaks me out a little bit. Sean S. Garland on Twitter and here on YouTube, it was a guy that worked with a little bit, getting plates and stuff like that and switching them out. He did a couple of the Verizons, and he says, it's 5 times harder than doing the AT&Ts. So if you want to get your stuff swapped out down the road, and you watch the video of me doing it on the AT&T iPhone 4, I would strongly suggest any company that you do, whether it's iPhone 4 Parts, iRescue, or my buddy Sean, have them do it. They know what they're doing, and it's much easier for them to take apart this version, and with the ribbons and everything involved. I would strongly suggest it. Most of them offer it for free in the pricing. That doesn't sound right. Most of them offer it for free when you buy the parts, and they'll do that and put it all together for you, and then you don't have to worry about something not working. So guys, that's pretty much it. I wanted to just go over a little bit of the insides and show you all that. So this is MTP Flyers. You guys have a great night, and got my full review coming up. And that's pretty much it. See ya!